A very good morning. Thank you so much. You who is still watching Good Morning Family. From where we started at 7 up to now, we are still continuing with Good Morning Family. And this is a special dedication in the commemoration of the World Environment Day. Now, it is now 50 years ever since UN officialized 5th of June to be the World Environment Day, and this year's theme is solutions to plastic pollution, and the hashtag is beat plastic pollution. So this day is commemorated every year on 5th of June. Now more than 400 million tons of plastics are produced every year globally, and half of which is designed to be used once, that is polythenes, plastic bottles. You realize that they're designed to be used once and then you throw away. Unfortunately, 19 to 33 million tons end up in lakes, rivers, streams, and here in Uganda you realize that some of these plastics end up into streams and drainage channels, which have caused a lot of effect. And one of the most obvious effects is when it rains. You realize that most of the roads here in the city center are impassable, reason being they have flooded. Why? Because the waterways were blocked by these plastics that we do not dispose of well. Now, in this segment, we are looking at how we can deal with the plight of plastic pollution, and with us is none other than Mr. Weraga who is an environmentalist and a researcher on environment, who is going to take us through some of these things and how you and me can help to save the environment and also provide a solution to the plight of plastic pollution. You're most welcome, sir, and a good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Mukalazi.
We are glad that we have you this morning to share with our viewer out there, especially when it comes to environmental protection.
I feel greatly honored by TV, Family TV, and especially Mr. Mukalazi for considering the environment as a priority.
Sure.
You see, it is still a problem in most citizens. The most understanding and role models from whom we copy. You see, I'm old, but there are some people from who I also when I follow, who are influential. They have not yet comprehended the problem of environmental degradation. They have not yet comprehended, and it is very disastrous. It's role models. When I talk about role models, I talk the church, the reverends and the fathers have done a lot, but I talk about media is very influential. When I talk about role models, musicians like the Chameleons, the Bob Wine, talk about them like musicians. They are
because we've had them on several campaigns coming up with joint songs, but we've not had them come up with a joint song on environmental protection.
And these are great influencers. Yeah. The children listen to them, the youth listen to them, and they have not yet comprehended the problem of degrading the environment. I've mentioned like the church, the Muslims, the mosque is very from Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I think that's why they have white and green for their mosques. They take the environment very great. But musicians, the church, the politicians, the most influential people who you follow.
So we are looking at solutions to the plight, how we can deal with the plight of plastic pollution. And you realize in the recent past, we've had very many issues of floods, even to places where we less expected. For instance, the Katonga Bridge, it was as a result of the flooding that water surpassed and it had to sweep away the bridge, and very many other places. Of course, out there in Bulambuli, the landslides, but we've had River Namwamba and all that. So you realize that floods are really a thing, and this is partly attributed to how we have distorted, how we have mismanaged the environment, the God-given environment, and we've now tried to make it artificial, thinking that we can replace what God made natural. How can we deal with this?
Really, the bottom line is mindset change. The influencers have not yet comprehended the catastrophe we are in. The earth, our mother earth, our mother environment is a tipping point. And what you saw in Katonga, those are the indicators of the tipping point. What you see in the plastics, these plastics, we call them non-biodegradable. For example, if a leaf of mango falls on the ground, it is biodegraded. It is broken down by fungus and bacteria, and it becomes food for the plant. But a plastic, especially they call them virgin plastic. I don't know why the environmentalists call it virgin. These small plastics, they call them virgin. Maybe because they don't break down. And somehow nature breaks them down into what we call microplastics. These microplastics are smaller than the bacteria, which break down the leaves and they become manure. These microplastics, they dissolve into the soil. They dissolve into the water. They dissolve into the food we eat. And they enter the cell. And they enter the what?
The cell.
The cell. So, when they enter the cell, they cause cancer. Now, me, up to the age of 20 years, I'd never seen someone with breast cancer. But now, you can see many people who have half breasts.
Yeah, true.
Prostate cancer is very common.
Yeah.
Lung cancer. Colon cancer. These microplastics enter the cell because they are very small. They are smaller than bacteria.
So there is no way you can look at maybe the food you're eating and then remove them out of the food.
Yes, I've forgotten. I like apples very much. And always buy apples and take to my children, especially when they're back for holidays. But I was shocked in New Vision when they wrote this New Vision. When I was rushing, I forgot it. They implicated carrots and apples that they have the most amount of microplastic.
Yet the English proverb says an apple a day keeps the doctor away.
Now that is the problem. I'm going to continue. I like carrots and the apples, and they are recommended by doctors. But the problem, they are the ones, I don't know whether they have a loose skin or what. New Vision implicated carrots and apples having the biggest amount of microplastics.
So someone would really want to understand how, because we've talked about the microplastics, so someone would really want to understand how the plastic, maybe if I have a plastic bottle and I throw it away the wrong way, how does it now later turn back to me? Because you realize that NEMA of recent came up with directives: don't throw stuff through the window. Every public vehicle should have a dustbin and all that. But you realize that someone first looks side by side to see that the police is not seeing them, then they throw it out, not knowing that in turn it will now come back to inflict a pain on their lives. So how does that cycle move?
Now, I link it to the gun. To the people like the people, guns who are shooting other people and shooting themselves. That is real suicide. Real suicide. If you throw the plastic bottle somewhere, that plastic bottle is going to be carried by water into the lake. And the fish you eat, probably it is why now I eat only dry fish or fresh fish. when I eat it now, my tuchimugana tuchitameme kusindukira. Probably it is because of that and heavy metals. Even in these, we are in great danger lately. We are talking on about plastics. Women paint their mouth and the you know namunungu and their nails are like this. They can't even peel. But when they are squeezing the mango, the orange juice, before they put it in the blender, the fingers, the namunungu fingers are entering there. And they are covered by heavy metals and some plastic. That is the problem. It is like the gun shooting you are now hearing. I think people are now suicidal.
Yeah.
Because you find it in fish, you find it in the carrots, you find it in the soil, you find it in water, which you are going to take. The cancers, skin cancer, lung cancer. Cancers are very many. Me, when I was growing up, I never witnessed any cancer. Now,
Today even have the gum cancer.
Gum cancer. Because, you see, when they open their mouths like this, they sometimes they leak it, but it is mixed with heavy metals. And the problem is not only plastics, but the problem is human nature. Comprehending, really understanding the problem. That when you degrade the environment, you are committing suicide. You are not better than the man who shot our minister in Angola. You are not better than the Askaris who are shooting people. You are really terrorists. If you're a politician and you are not protecting them, you are not using your capacity to protect the environment, you are worse than the El Shabaab who killed our 50 people.
54.
Who killed our 54 people. If you are a driver and you don't care for the environment, you are worse than El Shabaab who shot our 54.
Because you will kill more than the 54.
And you kill yourself. If you are a media person and you don't care at least to say, whenever you live in the media, protect the environment, it's your mother. That word by every media, you are worse than El Shabaab. Whenever you come to a platform, God has given you capacity to influence many people, and you don't live by saying, protect the environment, like the Honorable Bwanika, like Omumbeja Wobutonde, Avera ku CBS, like Mr. Mukalazi, who cares for the environment, like any BS, stop plastics, that thing is ever there. Like Biden, President Biden.
Joe Biden.
If you don't do that and you think you are doing anything, if you are a teacher and you don't tell the children from early age, you see, when a tree is bent, this is the problem. You were talking about the plastic. I mean the solution.
Yes.
The solution is adequate environmental education from charity. You see, when you bend a tree, when it is old, it just breaks.
Yeah.
It just breaks. These children from early youth, you see, a family is also a media. In this environment, I've discovered, when I was doing my master's, the research was challenges of adequate environmental education. And I'm continuing with it in PhD. This time, it is about interesting, dramatic, attention capturing environmental media. So when I was doing my master's, I discovered that the challenges of environmental education, mindset changing, is political will, is media attitude. The media just do it as many, not you of course, but many do it in Uganda tuchita kutusa mkolo, a ritual. It is like a ritual. It is not given time. In Makerere, environmental program was raised about to 2006. Environmental program, environmental media program. And another thing, public attitude. Mindset change. People must comprehend that when they mismanage the environment, they are committing suicide. They are worse than El Shabaab. Political will. I won't mention, but when I was doing my research, I have a mayor. I won't say the direction where I met him. My friendship reduced. Because my support for him was for protecting the environment. But as time went on, when we are talking, he one time mentioned that I said they are dumping soil in the valley. And he said, but those are my votes, those are my future votes.
Even when they're reclaiming the land, the wetland.
Exactly. But now, the good thing was, my friend, they are very far not in Uganda. I got disappointed. Because I gave him votes when I was staying there to fight for the environment. But when we are talking as time went on, he said, those are my votes. So, political...
Like the Bible says that you'll differentiate them by their acts.
By their acts. Said, now this is very dangerous. And I was doing the research. And fun enough, this is path dependency. When I was doing my research was hinged on two scientists. One who discovered the path dependent theory. That when someone degrades this swamp, wetland, and he fills it with soil, it is not the last time. It has become a path dependence. He will go and build a church in another wetland. He will go and throw a plastic bottle. It has become a behavior.
Because it has become part of them, it no longer matters.
It has become a habit. If they are not changed by charity, it depends on where you grew from. Charity is the problem. If you study in a school which is in a wetland, which was built in a wetland, however beautiful, however glamorous, you'll build your home in a wetland.
Exactly.
It has become a path dependence. If you play in a church which is built in a wetland, you'll not care about wetlands. What other example do I give? But it is called path dependence.
I think on that very thing, even talking about plastics and the way we dispose them of, the children, what the parents do determines much what the children will do, especially when it comes to disposing of the waste. If the way of waste disposal at home is by burning, that is what the children will grow up knowing, that this is the only way we dispose of stuff. If you just, after eating, you just throw through the window, the children think it is okay. All those who look at you. And I think it also goes back to what you started with as role models and mentorship, that they're people that children or young people have faith in, believe in. In other words, when they see you doing something, they think this is how it is supposed to be done.
Exactly.
And when they see you're this kind of person who goes on stage and you throw bottles into the crowd, they think that is the way to go. That is the trend.
Yes. So the problem is mindset change. Role models. The people from the influencers of society. Celebrities. Celebrities, I think that's how it is mentioned. Like on a burial ceremony. Lastly, I buried my child in Chira. And my uncle had never come there, maternal uncle. He looked at the compound with a lot of trees and said, wow, most of our homes are covered by concrete, by pavers. But this is past Parliament mangoes and what? In Kampala, it is wonderful. So, maybe that's why I copy it from, it is not charity. And I forgot to pick they wounded the microphone because that was most important. People were coming and talking, praising themselves. What? Because for them now they take it as normal.
Yeah.
From charity they have been seeing a compound with the trees and what, and they have done it in their homes and what, but they have not taken the time to influence other people about it. Those are influencers. I'm talking about influencers. We must change the mindset. The problem is the mindset of the people we follow. For example, there is Bolsonaro. I never forget to talk about him. He was the president of Brazil. He was toppled because of, he was not, maybe it is the environment which cast him. Immediately he went into power. He gave 20% of Amazon to people start cultivating what? Cultivating, degrading. A forest which gives the humanity 20% of the oxygen. And people, the people who a president influences, whose mind, people who follow him, just what he says, people will change their mind.
True.
For him, he was changing them negatively. Degrade Amazon. So, this is a very big problem. We should, whenever we talk about the environment, let us award the people who have done a lot. Like a Dr. Carson Rachel. In 1969, he wrote a book called Silent Spring. I was once in Igulu, you saw a teacher. I'm a teacher of biology and sports science. That's why you sound very fit, by the way. I don't want to go to do my physicals inside the house. I want to go along with the road, looking, touching the mangoes, the trees, and jog around.
So as we draw closer to the conclusion of this discussion,
why don't you let me talk about Carson?
Please talk about Carson in a few minutes. And we
Doctor, you see, we must award these people who, like Mr. Mukalazi, like Umbeja Obutonde Wensuku CBS, like Dr. Bwanika, like Dr. Luchams. In fact, we are supposed to award these people today on a small media. So, like Dr. Carson, he wrote a book called Silent Spring. When I was in Igulu, there were no birds crying during the morning. Here in the morning, you hear birds. They are not there.
Why?
Because there are no trees where their homes have been destroyed. Rachel Carson, in his silent book, he indicated DDT had killed all the birds. And so, I think in use, I've never gone to USA, but I think in spring, the birds cry a lot. But this time, the springs are very silent. Because all the birds have been killed by
how, in a minute or two, how can we deal? What is the right way of plastic disposal so that we can be part of the solutions to plastic pollution?
Now, this is you see, here like Dr. Joel Chinobe, a lecturer in Department of Environment, Makerere. He said the regulations are there, but implementing them is a problem. We must first change the mindset. The mindset. Environmental education must be adequate. Because if the factories are still there, and this policy was passed about 10 years ago, no plastic industries in Uganda are allowed. But a man of a sane mind, when I wrote my synopsis for PhD, green behavior policy must be a way of life for every sane mature individual, parent, opinion leader, religion, politician, educator, celebrity, institution, and media. How are you going to implement it if someone who is controlling about 50 people in a factory is still manufacturing? And
the factory is also constructed in a wetland.
In a factory is constructed in a wetland.
Producing plastics.
Producing plastics. And the minister concerned, he allows the importation of the materials. You get it? Mabira forest is given away. It is a big problem of changing the mindset. It starts from the mind. Because I discovered that for any strategic plan, from moving from intention to action, the media must be adequate.
That is why we are indeed grateful here as Church of Uganda Family TV that at least we can add our voice onto the very many voices to say that together we can beat plastic pollution. How do we beat plastic pollution? You and I changing our mindset and changing our discipline of disposal of plastics, and we appeal to the government to at least intervene to see that at least there is now regulations, especially when it comes to the production of plastics. Good Morning Family is still continuing, and Carol is coming back with issues at hand. Stay here.